I had a subscriber the other day leave me a comment saying that they had taken 3 years off of jiu-jitsu and they were a three-stripe blue belt, and it felt like they had forgotten everything. And this is often what it's like to build a jiu-jitsu game. It's kind of like you have built a pathway through a thick forest, and then over time, when you don't walk on that pathway or it's not taken care of, it starts to become overgrown with different branches and different leaves. So it's not that you have forgotten that information or that pathway isn't there. You just need to start removing one branch and one weed at a time. In this video, my goal for you is to kind of understand what a realistic return back to the mat could potentially look like. What is a clear step-by-step plan? What are some benchmarks we could set? And what are some healthy expectations that we could set ourselves up for success when we return back to the mat? If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure you turn on the bell icon. That way you're also notified whenever the latest video comes out. A lot of this advice that we're going to be going over today is directly taken from success stories that I have seen students do, and it's also going to be some advice that I've seen it be unsuccessful for students as well, some mistakes that maybe I have seen them make. The first thing we want to talk about is what is the number one priority you should have whenever you start returning back to the mat. In my opinion, over everything else, is you need to be consistently training 2 to 3 days a week. This is more important than learning the arm locks again. It's more important than remembering your shrimp escapes. It's more important than remembering your favorite sequence. If you cannot train 2 to 3 days a week on a consistent basis, none of those other things are going to matter. We ultimately need to create a new habit loop that is going off in your head that basically says, okay, once I'm done with work, I'm just going to go to training on these days. That needs to be automatic, where you don't have to think about it, where you don't have to fight yourself for it. It needs to be your number one priority. Make training 2 to 3 days a week that specific number. Now, why not more? Well, in my opinion, if you're doing 2 or 3 days a week, it helps meet a realistic schedule. It also prevents like burnout, because a lot of things are going to happen that we're going to talk about here in a second. You're probably going to be very unsuccessful. Your performance is probably not going to be what it was, which can lead to a lot of frustration in that way. But also it prevents injury. So if you're training too much, if you jump back into the saddle too quickly, you may not have the conditioning quite up to snuff just yet. So we want to really avoid this kind of burnout factor or this injury factor in your first 30 days. So I don't care if you have to set those 2 to 3 days a week, the same ones throughout the week, or if you can just go randomly throughout the week. Do whatever is best for you, but that needs to be your number one priority over the next 30 days. The next part of this advice kind of splits into two categories you'll have to overcome in that first 30-day period, and that's going to be the mental battles and physical battles. Usually the hardest part about the mental battles, in my opinion, is students comparing themselves to their old self, meaning that, oh man, I used to be so good, or I used to be able to do this move, or I used to be able to beat this person. Now, when they come back onto the mat, that's a lot harder for them to do. Maybe certain people have already passed them. They're ranked higher than them. The skills are better than them. Now we put that pressure on ourselves to be at that same standard that we once were. And that's just an unrealistic expectation to have. The expectation I want you to create for yourself is to be a brand new white belt again. I don't care if you're a brown belt returning back onto the mat after an extended break. Don't hold yourself to brown belt standards. Don't hold yourself to purple belt standards. Hold yourself to white belt level standards. So just focus on being a student. Don't worry about how good your performance is. You're just trying to be there 2 to 3 days a week and focusing on just being a student again and getting back into the swing of things. More of the physical things that I tend to see students kind of struggle with whenever they come back is more about the wins or the losses in the rounds. They're just not getting the same level of success as they once were. But mainly what I want you to focus on is foundational movements or foundational things. So things like shrimping at the right time, framing at the right time, creating space when necessary, trying to recognize different patterns or moves that your opponents or training partners are throwing at you, and then reacting at the right times. Those things are way more important than being successful at the elevator sweep or being successful with this submission or controlling the person for this long. Focus on the small foundational wins more than anything else over this first 30 days. Let me know down in the comments, have you ever taken an extended break? For how long? And then what was it like coming back? What was the biggest hurdle that you had to face when returning back to the mat? These comments really do help out students because they read them, they find support. So leave a comment down below. So you're probably wondering, okay, well, 30 days is great. What if I make it past that 30 days? I'm able to train consistently, right? When does my old self start to come back? Or when does my old skill level start to come back that it once was? And I'm going to give you guys some honest truth here. It may not. If you were a 23-year-old blue belt, and let's say you didn't return back to the mat for 10 years, now you are 33 years old, the chances of you having the same benefits of being a 23-year-old are gone. Meaning the cardio is not probably there. Your Wolverine-like ability to recover is going to be gone. Your ability to train 6 days a week is gone. You need to evaluate yourself for where you're at now. Your old game is great. We can memorialize it and we can remember it and we can put it in our hearts down here. But no matter what, you may not be able to execute the exact same game that you once had. Start to reflect on what you once did and see if there's anything in there that we can still take with us now because of our new age or our new timeline. Maybe we've accrued new injuries or new issues that we have had, and we need to build a new foundational game moving forward. No matter how much we wish we could be our younger selves or we wish that we never stopped training, there's nothing we can do about it now. You have to accept that fact and you have to move on. So the game that you played at 23, now that you are 33, might have changed. I will give a disclaimer with this, that usually the younger you are and the quicker you come back, the more similar your game can be. So if you're 23 and you come back at 25, your game's probably changed some, but it's not a big deal. But let's say you took a break at 40 and then you come back at 43, well, those 3 years are a big difference. The 3 years of extra aging there, your game might have to be completely built from the ground up. You might have to adapt new things. As you go through this next layer of process, you need to take all those things into consideration. So now let's lay out kind of 3 big benchmarks that you could expect to reach over the next 6 months. In my opinion, that means that you're on the right track. Typically for that first month, for the first 30 days, your sole goal, I don't want it to be anything else, but to not burn out and don't get injured. You need to be training 2 to 3 days a week, and your sole goal is to achieve those 2 things. Once you have achieved that 30 days, that you've proven to yourself that you can train 2 to 3 days a week on a consistent basis and that schedule works for you, you can now in months maybe 2 and 3 up 1 day a week here and there if you need to get a little bit more training. The main things I want you to focus on in those areas is trying to get your timing back better, trying to get your sense of awareness back better. You're trying to pick up on different patterns. You're getting your reading abilities back to where maybe they once were. Now, you may not be able to do the exact same techniques that you once were, but you're able to start seeing different passing style or recognize attacks that are heading your way or recognizing openings. Now, once again, you may not be able to jump on them right away, but the sole goal is to get that timing and that sense awareness back in months 2 to 4. When we go from months like 4 to 6, more or less, what I want you to really focus on is, if you're training consistently, is developing that new game for yourself. There might be some carryover pieces that you could take from your past self or things that you used to do well, but then you want to start to evaluate, okay, well, what is my new game moving forward? So you have now created good habits. You are training 2 to 3 days a week on a regular basis. You are not burnt out. You are not injured. You have probably developed some sort of conditioning back. You have kind of understood the pace of rolling, and now you're back into the smoothness of things to take our jiu-jitsu to the next level. And we want to start building our game very strategically for our new selves. So if I've accrued some form of a new injury, or if I've accrued something I want to watch out for, maybe I no longer want to invert, so I need to replace that inverting ability with something else, a different type of sweep. Now we can start to explore ourselves on that journey moving forward. If you guys follow kind of this outline and this mindset, your return to jiu-jitsu should be a lot easier than just trying to show up, train 6 days a week, go right back to your old self, and probably make a lot of the same mistakes, which is the reason why it caused you to quit in the first place. Now, if you found this information very helpful, make sure you grab my free Grits blueprint down below. It actually walks you through the strategy on how to build and develop your very own game. So even if you have one and you're looking to refine it, that could be a very good framework that you could start to use. If you're looking for more help and more direct guidance, this is stuff I help with students with on a daily basis. You'd probably be a pretty good fit for my coaching program where I help with you one-on-one. So make sure if you're interested in that, you could book a call by clicking the link down below. You fill out a little application, make sure you're a good fit for the program, and then we move on to the next phase of the process. Thank you guys for checking out another video. I appreciate you longtime subscribers, you people who like and comment on the videos. It really does help. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave it a like down below. Also, you can check out one of these 2 videos that will probably pop up right here to continue down your jiu-jitsu journey, and I'll see you in the next one.